I'm going to say this up front. I am not a Wizards of the Coast employee. GameMasters here, and this book recently fell into my lap. There is no date found inside, but as best I've been able to research, it comes from the year 2020, perhaps early 2021, and was handed out to Wizards of the Coast employees that worked in Renton, Washington. It is, as it states, an employee handbook. And keep in mind, this was created and handed out well before the October 2022 leak of the $1,000 Magic the Gathering Anniversary proxy loot packs, well before the December 2022 Hasbro Fireside Chat, and of course, well before the January 2023 OGL debacle. You'll understand why I specifically point that out by the end of this video. While I'd love to show you a page-by-page turn of what's inside, there is one specific portion that gives me great pause. It reads, Wizards of the Coast's Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons, and everything else in this Heward's Handy Handbook are property of Wizards of the Coast, LLC. Now, given that they've sent the Pinkertons out to a YouTuber's house for a now ironically flopped early release set of Magic the Gathering, March of the Machine, The Aftermath, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least consider the possibility of what might happen if I show the innards of this book. I will say this, there is one section that will almost assuredly land me into some hot water, and we'll get to that in a moment, but suffice it to say, I am hesitant to do a page-by-page turn of this book. But what I will share is that it does not go into any kind of depth or detail about what the actual job entails. It doesn't talk about health plans or vacation days or anything else that a typical employee handbook goes over. This little book is just 35 pages, broken down into 5 sections. The first section, Be Legendary, more or less fosters being excellent, that wotc prides themselves on making an excellent product, that they are building a legacy. It also covers a brief timeline of important events in years in the company's history, from Peter Adkinson founding the company in 1990 to Richard Garfield beginning the work of Magic the Gathering in 1991, to Wizards of the Coast creating a new studio in Austin, Texas, and acquiring Tuque Games in 2019, as well as several dates kind of in between. The second section, Build a Well-Rounded Crew, talks about the importance of employees working together as a diverse team, but it's spoken about in terms of a D&D party where the diversity is made up of fighters rushing into battle, while wizards shoot spells from a safe distance, while clerics throw out heals, and while rogues sneak up to the target. It then goes into the importance of each member asking what they can do better to add strength to the team throughout their own diverse backgrounds. The third section, Delve into Dungeons, talks about challenges and how challenges that are difficult are worth fighting. It likens the process to how dungeons can be dangerous because they are full of monsters and that one must pay attention to their own surroundings, listen to advice, and get creative to overcome an obstacle, but to do this all as a team. The fourth section, Don't Split the Party. That kind of fosters teamwork, in which which is actually an overall theme of this book. Again, it uses the metaphor of a group of adventurers all wanting to accomplish a goal differently, but it stresses that they must work together and not split up the party. Now, the fifth and final section is called It Takes a Multiverse, and it is, in my opinion, the most important. And it is in this section that I'm going to probably land in some hot water, because I'm going to share with you in its entirety. It's just one page, page 34, and it reads, It is a privilege to have the fan base we do. They aren't just players, but content creators, artists, performers, collectors, writers, and makers. We owe our success, past and future, to them. Our games have introduced partners and friends, taught math and social skills to kids, facilitated countless parties, and become the touchstone of long-lasting relationships for decades. When times are most frightening and people need human connections the most, we are there to help remind them that levity exists in our world and to provide that moment of escape. We have a duty to listen to their feedback, research and test what works best, and always try to do better for our fans. Now, I really do interpret this as Wizards of the Coast mission statement, or at least what it should be. Remember, this book which contains that statement, was handed out at least at some point in 2021, well before the October 2022 leak of the $1,000 Magic the Gathering Anniversary proxy loot packs, where they wanted to take advantage of collectors' addictive nature, well before the December 2022 Hasbro Fireside Chat, where they decided that Dungeons & Dragons was under-monetized and that they made the plan to move things to an all-digital format in an attempt to nickel and dime players. And of course, well before the January 2023 OGL debacle, where they were originally going to try and take full ownership of third-party creators' material. In a way, I suppose that they have listened to our feedback, but I see a complete failure in them testing to see what works best. And, well, as Yoda would say, don't try to do better by your fans. Either do or do not. There is no try. I can't help but see that Wizards of the Coast, at least the higher-ups, have forgotten that final page and its contents. They clearly failed in the mission of pleasing the fans, which is exactly what that last page says to me. I've got a slight follow-up to this video that will drop in a few days. It's my own little version of, we'll call it the state of the hobby, as it pertains to Dungeons & Dragons. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss that video. This was a pretty interesting book, and provided to me a touch of context as to where Wizards of the Coast's business ethics used to be. And hopefully I won't see myself landing into trouble over revealing what I've just shown earlier in this video. But moreover, hopefully Wizards will soon return to a better business ethic for their fans. Have you seen this book before? Have you seen an older version of it? Is there even a newer version? I don't know. Let me know your overall thoughts down in the comments. And until next our paths cross, may Wizards of the Coast do better by us, the fans.